Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
There are 17 types of prana, but predominantly 5 types are studied. There are 5 predominant types of prana. So, pranic system is made up of pran, the nadis which is channel, chakra is the cross section of the different nadis. So, there are 5 types of pranas studied: udan, saman, vyan, apan and pran itself. All these pranas are supposed to have different physical and emotional function. Udan pran is related to the mental strength and speech, and this is active near the neck and the head and in the head region. So, our face, head, neck activities going on in this region are governed by Udan Prana. So, it is related to the senses, mental strength, speech at the physical level. At the emotional level, our ability of the expression of thoughts and emotions are connected to Udan Prana. Then comes Prana Vayu, Prana itself. The Prana Vayu is mostly active in the chest and thorax area, and that is related to respiration, memory perception, sensory perception, etc. And at the emotional level, it is connected to the assimilation of information. We all keep getting the different stimuli, but our ability to process the stimuli which we constantly get is different, and that difference is caused by the Prana Vayu. The strength of the Prana Vayu decides how we assimilate so much information which we receive through our senses, through our cognitive senses. Saman Pran is active in the abdominal area, in the navel and around the navel area. That is responsible for the efficiency in the digestion, metabolism and nourishing. And at the emotional level, it is related to our power of discrimination, our ability to distinguish right and wrong, our ability to distinguish what the yogic tradition says sad, asat, truth and untruth. These abilities, this ability of discrimination is related to the Samana Prana. Vyana Prana, that is active throughout the body, and this prana is responsible for, or it governs the circulatory system and nervous system. And at the emotional level, it is related to coherence and integration of self. What aspect we integrate within, how we maintain the coherence in different aspect of our knowing, our emotionality and our action, that is governed by Vyana Prana. Apana Prana is more active in the sacral area, and that is related to elimination, birthing and menstruation. At the psychological level, it is related to our ability to let go. In our life, we keep facing things. Sometimes these are unpleasant things. Sometimes these become irrelevant once they occur. So when these things occur, that might be relevant, but when we reflect and in the hindsight, they may not be relevant. But still, many of us keep chewing those things, keep churning those things. That becomes a psychological issue. So our ability to let go things, let go memories which are no longer relevant, which can only cause pain, which can only cause hard feelings, we must be able to let go these. Apana Prana is connected to that aspect of our emotional well-being. So as I explained, Pranavayu, Nadi system and Chakra, these are the components of pranic system. The right side of the picture gives the name of some of the predominant nadis, predominant channels of energy. And it is said in the yogic tradition that there are 72,000 nadis. And these are some of the predominant nadis like Matrika, Tikta, Madhavi, Vishwa, Avantika, Shankhini, Shivali, Sita, Varuna, Pusa. These are some predominant nadis as mentioned in the pranic system. At the cross section of these nadis, we have chakras. So there are thousands of chakras. In fact, on all the joints of the body, we have chakras. So there are so many chakras. What are the predominantly studied chakras in the pranayam and in the pranic system are 7, which we are going to discuss. But before we discuss chakras, the left side of this figure mentions 3 predominant nadis: Ida, Pingala and Sushumna. Pingala is reflected in the blue or violet color. Ida is reflected in the green color. So Ida, if you remember, that's a Chandranadi which promotes the parasympathetic system. Pingala is called Suryanadi. It promotes the sympathetic nervous system, and at their balance is Sushumna. When both these nadis, when the energy is balanced in both these nadis, Sushumna Nadi become active. Then there are 7 chakras: Muladhara chakra at the perineum, Swadhisthana chakra, which is between the navel area and perineum, Manipurak chakra, which is adjacent to the navel area, Anahat chakra is very close to heart, Vishuddhi chakra, which is around the neck area, Agya chakra, which is at the forehead, and Brahmarand, which is slightly above the forehead. And there is also chakra, which is not mentioned here, is Sahasrar, which is at the top of the skull, and it is compared with the lotus with the 1,000 petals. And the yogic process helps the sadhakas to get their energy moving from the lower spaces to the higher spaces, from the lower chakras to the higher chakras. There is a whole system about the chakras. There is also a system of the sadhana and the concept called Kundalini Yoga, which predominantly works and take the reference of these 3 nadis and the 7 chakras. We are not discussing those things in this session. We are predominantly understanding how our breathing is connected to our well-being. And we need to look at this metaphysical aspect of the breathing exercises, which is given in a great detail and sophistication in the yogic tradition. So purpose is just to familiarize yourself about this system. Those who are interested can pursue the different lines. They can pursue this as a knowledge system. Our purpose is to look at how we can use some of the methods for our well-being and evolving as an individual and evolving as a professional. The most interesting interpretation of chakras I heard from very renowned spiritual guru Sri Ravi Shankar ji. We all know that he is the founder of Art of Living Foundation. It conducts many social activities along with the spiritual activities. They teach Sudarshan Kriya. which is the basic practice they teach in most of their programs. But Art of Living Foundation is also very, very active in the social space, in the organic agriculture, to river rejuvenation, to prison reforms, to general education, to so many other things which are very relevant for the societal development. So the interpretation of the chakras and the associated energy I found very interesting in the explanations of Shri Shri Ravi Shankar ji. What he says, that chakras are the center of energy. That is similar to what pranic science, what the yogic science also says. He goes further and explains what is the nature of energy associated with those chakras. So, depending on the negative spiral or vicious cycle, or the positive spiral called the virtuous cycle, the energy is reflected in our personality. So, energies are there, everybody has that energy, everybody has these chakras. If these chakra or the energy associated with these chakra is in the virtuous cycle, we look at the positive expression, life affirming expressions of these energies. And if these energies get trapped into the vicious cycle, not very pleasant expression of that energy. So, Mooladhara chakra is related to enthusiasm. So, energy at the Mooladhara is reflected in the form of enthusiasm. When this is inversely active, we suffer from dullness. She explained that depression is in a way situation where our own mental energy starts working against us. So, the same energy can be reflected in the enthusiasm, and that energy can be expressed in our dullness and depression. We come to the Swadhisthana chakra, which is between the navel area and the perineum. This is in parallel to our gonads. Energy associated with the Swadhisthana chakra may be used only for procreation, maybe for the sexual pleasure. This same energy can also be expressed in the form of creativity. Creativity can get expressed in various forms, we all know about it. The same energy can be wasted in unhealthy sexual activities, and same energy can be used for the expression of creativity. Manipurak chakra, which is in parallel to the navel area, that energy either can be reflected in generosity and the joy associated with generosity, or this can get perverted and reflected in jealousy and greed, and that result into lot of parigraha, lot of hoarding. That's why you might remember that in the yama aspect of yoga, which is the first step in the yoga, we talk about aparigraha. So, aparigraha is possible when Manipurak chakra is active. If Manipurak chakra is not active, it is very difficult to exercise, it is very difficult to follow aparigraha. Coming above the chakra, very closely located near heart area, that is called Anahat chakra. Anahat chakra, when is positively active, people can experience love, people can experience associated compassion. When this chakra, when this energy is perverted, same energy can be reflected in fear and hatred toward others. Above Anahat chakra is Vishuddhi chakra. In the Vishuddhi chakra, which is located in the neck area, when energy is in a virtuous cycle at that level, or the energy related to the Vishuddhi chakra is in the virtuous cycle, we experience gratefulness. But when this energy in the vicious cycle, we experience grief, we experience sadness, and that naturally that energy works against us. Agya Chakra. Our energies can go up to Agnya Chakra, and if the Agnya Chakra is emitting the energy in the virtuous cycle, that is reflected in awareness, alertness, our ability to make decision, our ability to distinguish things, our ability for the discrimination, our ability to make judgments about things. However, if the same energy is in the vicious cycle, it is reflected, or rather it go wasted in the form of anger. And as we mentioned about Sahasrasar, this is the crown chakra. If energy reaches there, we only experience joy. There is no opposite of Anand if energy reaches to the Sahasrasar. So Sahasrasar is where there is no negativity left, and we only experience joy. We can look at our terminology as well of the indigenous positive psychology. We talk about dukh, sukh, suvidha, asuvidha. So all these terms have negative and positive connotations. However, there is no opposite to Anand. Anand is the translation of bliss, and there is no opposite of that. The purpose of yoga is to experience Anand in the day-to-day life. We may acquire suvidha or convenience, we may acquire happiness or sukh, we may acquire pleasure, but that always remain time bound. When we acquire Anand, it is consistent process. It is not based on the external object. The purpose of yoga is to able to discover bliss, able to discover the comfort, able to discover peace within ourselves, not outside self. So our happiness and our joy is not dependent on outside when we engage into the yogic practice. Pranayam is that intervention which help us to raise the energy level, which can be properly directed towards the life affirming, non-egoist and non-selfish ways of expression. So chakras are extensively studied in many healing processes in the healing schools. We are not discussing that, but if you are interested, you can certainly pursue your studies and experiential exercises around those.